Oh, can we briefly touch on why Texas is different?
Yeah, it's bigger. They got oil.
The stars at night are big and bright. Right. Look at my wife's gonna make the claps.
My family and my staff are all covered by firearms legal protection because there is no better resource to help good, sane, sober, moral, prudent people after a use of force. They now have a great newsletter available to everyone for free as well. Sign up at the link below and check out their coverage too. Don't forget to thank them for bringing us today's video.
Well, okay, so Texas Penal Code has a very particular, Texas has a very unique culture and a very unique set of laws when it comes to the use of deadly force to protect property.
Right.
And it really is unique. And so I know people go, woo, Texas. I'm gonna be honest with my opinion. I'm gonna let Terry speak to his. But in my opinion, I think Texas's law is actually immoral. And as a Second Amendment guy and a self-defense guy, I get in some trouble for that because I believe that human life is inestimably valuable and uniquely valuable, and so I seek to preserve it whenever possible. You can't always preserve it, but whenever we can, I think that that's the morally correct thing to do, and that's kind of my way as a follower of the way of Jesus. And so in Texas, though, you got to read Texas Penal Code 941, 942, and 943. I am not an attorney. I am not offering you advice. I cannot enter into a legal relationship with you, for I am not an attorney. As a use of force expert, the very uniqueness of that statute allows, in some limited instances, the use of deadly force to protect property and to stop somebody who is fleeing immediately after the commission of a felony or a forcible felony, and even the theft of property in the nighttime. So in Texas, you very well might get away with somebody comes on your property at night and steals something out of your car, and you catch them running off and shoot them in the back. In Texas, you might well get away with that.
But just to be fair, the property cannot be. Again, I'm not a Texas attorney. Let me start by saying that. But I also said it also states in the statute that the property itself can't be recovered by any other means. Okay, and one of the things that people like to talk about is, if you have something that you can't get back any other way. For example,
pictures of your grandma.
Pictures of your grandma, your grandmother's ashes, something along those lines. Texas would allow you to, it would be justified under their statute to do that. Now, however, again, times have changed. That law hasn't changed, but times have changed. And prosecutors may look at that, and the public, think about a city like Dallas, which is where our headquarters is, right? If you look at Dallas, Texas, that city has changed tremendously over the past 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 to 50 years, right? What you can do 50 years ago in Texas, you can't do now. So those are some things you really need to take into consideration when you make some of those decisions.
Yeah, and my guess is, okay, so let me back up. My guess is you can never necessarily guess the intent of legislators. This is what judges do, right? They try to find that intent. But back when that law was written, they're thinking about horse thieves. They're thinking about literally the Wild West. And somebody comes in and steals your horse, you can't replace that horse because you're going to walk and you're going to die out there in the wilderness in Texas, right? Because there's a million miles between anything in Texas. And so because of that, you go, no, wait a minute, you can stop that with deadly force. Well, your car today can be replaced. So you're going to put yourself into that? Is there going to be a prosecutor that's going to go, nah, I think that can be replaced in any other way, so I'm going to prosecute you, and we'll argue about it in court. Now, here's the other part of that. What is the district attorney's budget to prosecute you? Infinite. They literally have infinite resources. They can literally put as much as they want towards it, and it's your money they're using. What's your budget to defend it? Not infinite. So this is a challenge, and this is that stuff on that. Does that answer your question, son, Travis?
Yes.
Thank you. Michael.
I think the next question is, what cases does the DA take?
The question is...
Cases they can win.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So he says, the following question, which cases does the DA take? It's the ones they can win.
Right. And that's a great point because, again, if you look at things right now, most jurisdictions are backed up due to COVID, okay? I'll give you an example.
Holy cow, are they ever?
In Wayne County, I know for a fact that Wayne County is 5,000 cases behind. 5,000. These are felony cases. They are behind, okay?
In fact, Terry and I are working together on a case that has been going for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Over a year and a half.
Yeah.
You might figure out what case that is if you go back on on the Extra channel and see us maybe talking about a particular case. I'm not going to say what case that is. You could sleuth it out though. That is felony charges.
Yeah.
And that couple is still waiting.
Yeah, we don't even have a trial date. That's not even Wayne County. That's a county north of Detroit. But I can tell you this. The interesting thing is, prosecutors aren't going to take a case. They're going to look and say, "Hey, I don't think I can win this." And if it's unsure, they'll say, we'll let a jury decide. And that's the worst thing because now you have, and I know I'm going to get comments on this, and Linda always tells me not to say this, but you have 12 people that aren't smart enough to get off jury duty, right? Again, I know the comments are coming. There's a reason I say it, and we'll have that discussion at a later point. But, because I always say there are two types of people I don't want on my jury. I don't want people that want to be on jury duty because I can't find anybody. To me, it's like you've got an axe to grind who wants to sit there and listen to all of this. And the other people I don't want on my jury are the people who don't want to be on jury duty, right? So
that seems to be everyone. We seem to have.
Yeah. So now you're getting people who are going to make those types of decisions. And again, the prosecutors, going back to your question, the prosecutors they're going to take a case, hold it over your head, and try and figure something out. So, because again, in their head, and again, let me say it this way. Some prosecutors in most jurisdictions know their community. And let me give you an example. If I try a case, let's say in Detroit, and I've got the exact same fact pattern, but I come here to Kansas, you think the same people are going to think the same way? Or just like the question about Texas, right? Certain parts of Texas, the people in Dallas think different than the people in Houston. The prosecutors have their thumb on the pulse of that community, and they know what they can bring in and how successful, because guess what? I promise you're not the only one that's in that unique situation.
Sir, go ahead. Another question.
Well, how much of this are they just holding over your head as a prosecutor or as a DA just to try and get you to cop a plea?
So the question is, how much are they using this to hold over your head in order to get a plea bargain? Terry, I'm going to let Terry answer this thoroughly. The answer, though, in a real sense, is a lot. One of the sayings that we say all the time is you might beat the charges, but you ain't going to beat the ride. And you're going to have to pay for that ride. And most of the time, when the prosecutor is going to hit you over the head hard, and hey, I'm going to get you on aggravated assault ×2. So in this particular video that we were talking about, I'm going to get you on aggravated assault. I'm going to get you on illegal discharge of a firearm. I'm going to get you on an enhancement for this thing and the other thing. And you're looking at 25 years. And I'm going to hammer you with all that. And then your attorney goes, whoa, man, what can we talk about? Okay, I'll cut you a deal. And my deal is you cop to the ag assault 3 to 5 years, and I drop everything else. And you go, oh my God. Well, you want to go to the jury and risk the 25, and they'll absolutely do that. Terry?
And here's the thing, slight plug. I'm doing a after the shoot. What happens after the shoot seminar? I'd highly encourage you guys to watch, come in and see it. I think you mentioned we're gonna
record it too.
Record it and post some of it on Extra. But here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize what. I don't want to give away the thunder, but let me put it this way. The amount of cases that actually go to a jury trial is extremely small. And let me give you an example. If everybody in America today says, I want a jury trial, remember I mentioned Wayne County's 5,000 behind? It'll probably be 25 to 30,000 cases behind.
Yeah, easy.
The system is not set up for juries or bench trials where a judge decides. So yes, a prosecutor will say, here are the facts, and let's go back to what we were just talking about. They know the pulse of that community, right? They know what they can get away with. And if you think I'm wrong, think of your experiences from one county to the next, wherever you live. I promise you, some of you will say, yeah, in this county I can get away with this. This county, they don't do that. And it doesn't have to be something that's so super criminal. It could be something as simple as speeding, right? Does that
I've
answer
seen
your question?
in my county, in Maricopa County in Arizona, it's actually pretty fair for a long time. Well, our current district attorney's having some trouble, but they weren't terrible about things. But I've seen clear-cut cases of self-defense. The district attorney nevertheless say, no, this part of that was wrong, and you are going to plead to that, or we're going to prosecute you for all of it. And attorneys arguing back, but wait, this was justified conduct. You can't let this little thing slide. Nope. So I've seen that happen, which is why you want to be a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person, not try to put yourself in a bad spot.
And if a camera comes along, I'm telling you, that's what makes it worse. Because once, video and other things get out, everybody's got an opinion. And the camera doesn't give you the whole half hour of what happened.
Right.
It gives you about 90 seconds, and you're like, you make a snap decision based on 90 seconds, but you don't know what happened before or after that camera went off. So,
Yay. Is everybody super excited about the legal system now? Remember, it's not a justice system. It's a legal system. Ma'am.
I was wanting to know the definition of forcible felony, and something you said earlier made me think that maybe that definition is different state to state.
So we had a question here. What is the definition of a forcible felony, and does that definition differ state to state?
and the answer is it differs state to state.
Yes, it does.
And I don't want to give a definition because, again, I would suggest looking up in your state. For example, Michigan does not have it's not a forcible felony that's required in Michigan. Michigan just says imminent fear of death, great bodily harm, or criminal sexual conduct. So a forcible felony in Michigan wouldn't necessarily fly. But I think in Arizona, it's on your...
Yeah, and it depends on which state, and some states specifically define forcible felony.
Florida does, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and some don't. Some don't. This is our problem with legislators, is they pass a law, but they don't always give us all the definitions in that law. And so then courts will go back and go, well, okay, if they don't give me a definition, then I'll apply a common law definition. But then what was their intent? And then that's why we get all this case law stuff. But generally, usually, now again, look up your state statute. What's the problem with looking up your state statute? Anybody been watching John's briefs long enough to remind me? What's the problem with looking up your statutory law? It's written in lawyer, not written in English.
Right.
So remember, lawyer is not English. They use English words and use English syntax, but it is not English. It's lawyer. And everybody goes, what? Shouldn't the laws be written in to be understood by regular people? Yes, but attorneys start interacting with them and interpreting them, and how do they get actually applied in court? And what does that phrase actually mean here? And it becomes its own language, and it absolutely is its own language. So just because you read a statute, I see this in Arizona all the time, and somebody goes, well, John, the statute says this, and it means that. And I go, it does not mean that. Right. Here's how we define terms. Here's how it's been applied in the courts. This is what it actually means. So just be cautious when you read the black letter law and you go, well, this is a forcible felony. In most states, generally, they'll either define specific acts which are a forcible felony, an aggravated assault, an armed robbery, a carjacking, because they have to, yank you out of the car. They're using force to get you out of the car. A home invasion.
Right.
They might define it that way, or sometimes they define it as a felony that involves the use of force in its commission. Could be sexual assault. Clearly, if somebody, commits sexual assault, they're using force to force somebody to do something they don't want to do in a felonious manner. But it doesn't always get defined, so you got to look at your particular state and where you are. Now, this also reminds us, we're all here. We have people from 28 states this year here in Kansas for the ASP National Conference, and you're very used to the statutory law or used to what you think of as the rules of your state. You ain't in your state right now.
Right.
So you might have conduct and you go, oh, I'm just going to act like I would in my state, but do you know what the laws are in Kansas? Do you know what you can do here and how that might affect you? So that's a reminder that when you're going to travel, you need to look that up in the jurisdiction that you're going to be in so that you know how to act.
And one of the first things I learned, I want to say day 2 of law school, I had a professor say, we're talking about a law, and I said, that's the dumbest thing. He said to me, if you don't like the laws of that state, don't go there.
Or change them, right? If you don't like the laws of your state, guess what? Start working with your legislators.
Yep.
That's how you make changes. You work with your legislators. So, does that answer your question? Yeah. It does. Awesome. Next question is up here up front. Then I saw you. We'll get to you. Okay.
Can you or should you use that backup in the system to your advantage?
Ooh. Can you or should you use the backup in the system to your advantage? I think that's an interesting question. What do you think, Terry?
So, when you say to your advantage, and this, so we're clear, you're saying, so if there's like 5,000 cases, you know, what are we going to do? It just depends. I know you like that answer. It depends.
Very lawyer.
You know, if you've committed a homicide, probably not going to go away. Because again, you've got to do something with the body. It's either got to be justified or somebody's got to pay some kind of price. There are, and it's just not in Michigan, but every jurisdiction, every attorney I've talked to all across the country, everybody's backed up due to COVID. And yes, some places are cutting some great deals, but here's the thing. They're deals. And deals basically mean it's a plea bargain. Nothing is going to go away because again, you get prosecutors like in Chicago, what is that? Cook County. Right.
Crook County, Illinois.
Yeah. But in Cook County, one of the things that's going on, you see some people that are just walking away from some horrendous crimes, and the media's getting involved, and now they're coming back and they're swinging the other direction. So you can use it to your advantage probably to get a better deal, but not necessarily to walk free from all charges.
I mean, you might get a district attorney, I think, that would say, okay, this is a low level enough stuff, I don't got time to mess with you. And they might cut you a sweet deal for that. And we've talked about this on the channel, that there are some times that you go, hey, wait a minute, he's giving you a misdemeanor and requesting the judge to have probation for 6 months, no time served, $250 fine, you're copping to a misdemeanor, you keep all your rights, and it's done. Or wait the year and a half and take the felony ride.
And let me tell you, I was involved in a case recently, something like that happened. Guy thought it was a clear-cut case. The jury hung. Prosecution came back and said, look, I'll tell you what, we'll give you this misdemeanor, pay fines and costs, no probation, you're done. Guy wants to say, nah, I didn't do anything. Oh, okay. So you want to risk a felony again.
And pay all the attorney hours to go back through court.
Right, when you can just pay a fine and move on. But again, we've got to get out of this, the mentality of I've done nothing wrong. And again, let's go back. In this case, you always have, not always, you're never 100% clear, free and clear. You've some way, somehow, just based upon the way the laws are written and interpreted, you've done something wrong. I promise you. Maybe so minor that the prosecution can just hold on to it. But just keep that in mind. This system is not made up of justice, it's made up of plea bargains.
And it's not a justice system, it's a legal system. So you might, and we've talked about this, there are plenty of times I think it's smart to take a plea. There's plenty of times that you go, look, then I put this behind me, I can sleep at night, I can move forward with my life, and I don't know that I'd take a felony plea, because then you're losing your firearms rights, you're losing your right to vote, you're going to spend time in prison. That's a big deal. That's a huge cost. But a lot of times you'll get a prosecutor to get you off the books that'll be like, okay, you're going to cop to this misdemeanor, you're going to keep your nose clean, or I'm going to hammer you if you do something else stupid, and you're going to get out of my face. And you go, thank you, yes, and good night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's discretion being the better part of valor, in my opinion. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Very good.